Okay, you're so sexy.
Welcome everybody to episode 8 of How to Keep the Fights Clean and the Sex Dirty TV with Gabby and Raj Sundra. We're super excited to be here with you. It's the last episode of season 1. We'll be kicking back into gear in season 2. When is that starting, Gabby?
Second week in September.
Great. And we're joined by our lovely guests, Adam and Sandy Gilad. Gabby, our beautiful guests.
Yes, we're going to tell you a bit more in detail about them, but boy, you can already tell that this couple is fun. When, the relationship fun and games work is all about a P3 relationship, a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. And I can't think of a couple who exemplifies not just all three, but a really, really nice, rich balance of all three. And I'm just so glad they're here today. We're going to introduce them with a little bit more background in a bit. But welcome, Adam and Sandy, as we like to call her, Sandy Pants. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
For our viewers, just
Very serious.
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Very serious.
Just a little bit about the show. For the first half hour, we're going to be sharing some of our top tools about how to keep the sex dirty after. Super awesome tips and techniques for bringing your sex life to the next level after you've actually had sex.
It's not over just when you think it's over. There is no over. In fact, I think Adam and Sandy are going to talk about how to keep this actually a continuous element, which I love. But it's not over.
It's not over. It's not over. And 30 minutes into the show, we're going to make the Hangout live so that any of you can join us live and ask questions either of us or Adam and Sandy live in the Hangout. For those who do join us live in the Hangout, we have a couple of free gifts that we'll shoot over to you, our 25-page free guide, as well as our cheat sheet. So, so excited to have you here today, Adam and Sandy, and welcome everybody out there in audience land.
In audience land. Yeah, so as Raj mentioned, this is the final episode. So far, if you've been checking in either live or on the replay of the shows, we alternate each week between the Fights Clean and the Sex Dirty. So you can come with whatever area is important to you. Of course, both is one of my favorite words in bringing those two pieces together. And we started out with before, and we kept alternating with before as it starts, during, and after. So here we are on the final episode of the very first season, and Adam and Sandy are here to talk with us about the topic of how to keep the sex dirty after. So it's over, but as we said, it's not really over, and how do you maximize that special time? So Raj and I are going to share just 1 or 2 tips from our ebook, and it's from also our cheat sheet, so you can find out more from those in either one of those resources. That if you opt in, that cheat sheet will be sent to you, and also you can see right on the left-hand side, if you're watching on our website rather than YouTube, you can get the ebook right there. So let me introduce Adam and Sandy, and then we'll dive into the content, or what you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want, for those of you who are new to our show, I just want to show you what we're talking about when we talk about the Fights Clean after. So through our series, we've talked back and forth between how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty, and we actually look at these different time periods: before, as it starts, during, and after. And today we're talking about how to keep the sex dirty after, just to kind of ground you in how we organize our content. Great, so I just want to make sure that we showed people that. And
thanks for showing them that image. We're all visual people, right? Okay, awesome. So just in introducing Adam and Sandy, now Adam Gilad has done so much in the realm of the relationship world. I'm really excited about what's coming up next. He and Sandy have founded together the Happy Couples Academy. And as you can tell, and they do such a good job of modeling that. The only thing is, it's like we got to find the advice for those that are having a little bit more difficult time. But Raj and I know we certainly didn't start this happy. We had quite a bumpy ride to get started. And Sandy is pretty brilliant, not just beautiful herself. She actually has a master's degree from Harvard in education, and just has a wealth of knowledge and experience. And, Adam, I love you, but any woman who has made you as happy as you are and to believe in marriage, I mean, I've heard you say it before, that when you said you're getting married, your friends were like, why would you do that?
Somebody stopped me last Saturday. They said, aren't you Adam Gilad? I go, yeah. And this is in LA. And they said, you got married? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, but you've written all that stuff about marriage. And I said, well, it depends on the marriage, you know. And he said, why would anyone get married? And I said, very simply, you do it for the practice. You do it because it's a spiritual practice. It's a practice of being a human being. It's definitely easier. It's easier not to be married. It's easier to be single these days. But if you want the practice of to really get the wholeness of love and the wholeness of being a human being and facing all those challenges and working through them and growing, that's why you do it. But yeah, you're right. I have written against many.
And now when I talk to you, you're well up with tears. You're moved. I mean, I've heard you talk about just different ways of being now that you're married, just bringing more levels of respect to your wife, not from an element of control is what I love. Not like, oh, she doesn't want me to do that, she's going to be jealous, but of this like honoring and respect when you were talking about eye contact with women.
Yeah. Oh, right. It's true. So, yeah, just so we'll talk. Yeah, first of all, I can't control her, so I'm not going to bother. It's one of the nice things about getting
together. A lot of people try.
Well, it's one of the nice things about getting together a little later in life. You know, we're not in our 20s, though she looks like it. But, like, and she's a very strong person.
Yeah.
And I'm strong. You know, we have no interest in controlling each other. But you said about eye contact, so it's true. So I guess I didn't realize I told you that. But I've gone out of my way to, you know, one gets into habits when one is single. You know, play, and I really made it a practice not to do that. And I catch myself, you know, where I otherwise would have flirted with a waitress or made eye contact with someone, I actively avoid it. Just new practices.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Well, your love is inspiring.
I will.
Say again, Sandy?
She'll kill me. No, I'm just kidding.
Kill you, she says. Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. Adam and Sandy, anything else you guys want to say about your background or any projects you're on before we dive into this content here?
I think you handled a pretty good job.
That's pretty good.
Careful.
I think brilliant and beautiful kind of sums it up, right, Sandy?
I didn't. Well, that's funny. But by the way, it comes back to the panda hats. Why are we wearing panda hats? Our mutual friend, John Taylor, once said to me during a masterminding session, quoting Kung Fu Panda, he said, focus, Panda.
Because Adam needs to focus.
Because I need to focus. I'm highly creative, yes. And so the panda has become our emblem of our marriage just in terms of focus. So in terms of really focusing on your partner and making that extra effort to put your energies in the proper place, focus, Panda.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have we have when we used to get each other's attention. You remember the animated movie Up?
Squirrel. Squirrel.
And the dogs would be all fighting, and you could hear their words. They were talking, the dogs, and a squirrel would go by, and they'd all freeze and go, squirrel.
That's
when we want each other's attention and focused attention, we'll say squirrel.
We just try not to do it when we're driving too much.
Or when there's an actual squirrel.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's get into Raj and our tip for today for this topic, and then we can free flow and get your advice and hear a bit more about this continuous space that you and Sandy are creating in the after passion category. But one of the tips, did you want to say anything before we go into that tip? I'm practicing letting go of our, I can't get a word in edgewise.
Well, I'm just going to say a little bit about how the tip came about.
Sure.
So the first tip we're going to talk about is the romp recap, and one of the other things that we do with our time is consult businesses and do personal coaching, and one of the things that we do all the time in that work is what we call even better ifs.
EBIs.
EBIs. I can't remember who we learned that from, maybe Evan
or Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I like to say that there are no regrets, only EBIs in life. You can learn from every moment, no matter what you're doing. If there's something you're unhappy with, then you can just look at what would make it better next time, even better next time. But
at the same time, that's also holding the space of all is well. It's not like there's anything wrong. This is just the what so, and it's not good or bad, but how can we even better if? Because sometimes when you bring even better if, people have that mean that there's something wrong, and we're just always looking for continuous improvement. We do personal development. We take care of our bodies. We're just always looking to grow, and why not do it in relationship?
So Gabby and I were talking, we probably had an awesome lovemaking session, and we were going to the beach the next day or something, and we just started talking about this even better if concept and how we could bring it into our sex life. And Gabby, being the awesome namer person that she is, came up with the romp recap. And so, honey, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we came up with the romp recap. Everyone knows I do love alliterations, and we like to make things fun and playful, but there's brain science behind that. It makes it more memorable if it's an alliteration as well, and we want you to actually do this. So, as Raj said, yeah, we were looking at how to EBI. In fact, we had set a goal for our relationship for that quarter, those 90 days actually, that we set goals for our relationship, and one was to have the best ever sexy time. So we thought, okay, how are we going to have the best ever sexy time? Well, let's figure out how do we even first qualify if it was a best ever. And so I said, well, let's put some measurement to it with some EBIs, and we created 3 categories to measure. One is intimacy, the second is sexiness, and the third is technique. And that kind of covers, our overall experience. And, it's not that we're scoring the other person, we're scoring the overall experience. And so it just gives a map and a context to make talking about, well, how was sex, as common as like, well, what'd you think of that movie last night? Or what'd you think of that restaurant that we went to? Because so many couples, even if they're intimate, even if they have great sex lives, for some, it's very difficult to have a conversation. It might even be, like we actually don't like to give too much of the direct feedback during the moment. Yeah. We like to talk more about it afterwards and go, this might be better. I mean, certainly we give each other feedback, but to really, we don't want to stop the flow to debate how this could be even better and be critiquing someone. So we often will go for a walk to the beach the next day. You don't want to do this within the first, 30 minutes of finishing making love. We call that the post-sex pause or the post-orgasmic chill. But within the first 24 hours, now if you're having sex every 10 hours or faster, then you have to do your recap sooner and have a shorter window. But
by the way,
24 hours.
We stop every 5 or 10 minutes while we're having sex.
You got the scorecard out?
Oh, did we lose you?
They're muted for some reason. Adam, you've muted yourself if you can hear us. And Sarah, maybe on the controls, you can unmute him.
So we'll just keep talking, and Adam, see if you can get yourself unmuted over there. He's saying he can't seem to.
Okay, well, I'll let you work on that, and I'll keep talking about this particular romp recap. Yeah, just happened, Adam, when you started talking, and it's not on. It looks like you've done it individually.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the romp recap. So even one day, Raj, I came in, I had taken a shower, and we were going to have a nice afternoon sexy time session, and he had put even a dry erase board on the side and had written in a big heart and a scoreboard, really bringing some play to it. That was just once. We don't do that often. But I'll tell you, we still have a goal every 90 days to have what we call best ever sexy time. It's never been that good ever. And in this last 90 days, that's happened twice. So now we've even started a list of what are the conditions for best ever sexy time.
Yeah, and like Gabby was saying, this technique, this tip, it gives you a way to talk about sex and the quality of your sex and what you're liking, what you would like to be even better if. And, any area of life that you would like to see improvement in, you have to look at what's working and what's not working, right? Otherwise, it'll stay the same or even get worse. And we really, really encourage you to just play with this and practice. Gabby, could you say a little bit more? You can maybe recreate our beach walk and how we go back and forth and share about the numbers.
Sure, and what those are.
Mm-hmm. And
what's happening with that?
And Adam, you might want to log out and come back in because we can't get you unmuted.
Great, I see you nodding. I can see you, we just can't hear you. Great, all right, we'll get Adam and Sandy back in a second. But let me just say a little bit about those 3 categories. Intimacy, how connected did you feel? For me, that really means eye contact. So especially at particular points, I want to make sure, and it's not always, but it's just a general element. I feel more connected if we have more eye contact. Sexiness is just, that's one that you can't that's an emergent property. You can't really, paint the picture for the details for that one, but it's a heat and an energy that gets created, and we'll just acknowledge it, because sometimes it might be really intimate and sweet, but not quite have that heat, and sometimes it's all heat but not the other, and none of it's wrong. It's just like a discussion and a noticing. And then finally with technique, we're like, okay, those skills, I loved it when you did that, I'd love more of that, a little bit on this lighter, or any of those specific details. But again, it just makes it easy for you to have a non-threatening, oh yeah, how was your day yesterday? Oh yeah, and let's EBI our sex life and have a romp recap, and it makes it a lot of fun.
And so, Gabby will give her version, and she'll kind of ask, and so what do you think? And then I'll give my version, and it's nice. It's a nice back and forth way to communicate about what worked and what you'd like to be even better if.
So you can have best ever sexy time. But it looks, speaking of best ever, it looks like we have Adam and Sandy back. Can we hear you?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Awesome.
Very
Sorry about that. Not sure what happened.
I
But
thought we lost you there for a minute.
Yeah, I was saying that we stop every 5 minutes or so during, and we have a scorecard. So
Thumbs up
or we do
down.
thumbs up and thumbs down.
Show that again, or you just...
yeah, show up your scoreboard.
Well, we'll just go like, we'll hold it up. 10, 5,
10.
but every 5 minutes or so, just to make sure everyone's performing up to chop.
Judges say, yeah.
Let's just say 1.
Well, it's interesting. I know you've done a lot of David Data work, and our good friend in common, Amber Lupton, she did some great work because she did a lot of work with David as well. And I remember once she did an exercise with Raj, and there were several, 2 or 3 women friends of mine, that Raj was just moving in certain ways and talking, and they would just either make sounds or give a number to give him that instant feedback. So there is a lot of value in getting instant feedback. But there's also a lot of value in letting go and going with the flow, and then doing a little debrief afterwards for those EBIs.
No, absolutely. It's good to pay attention to what your partner. The practice is I don't know if it's the practice she's referring to that Amber referred to, but it's the number game where the one partner will touch and the other partner is only allowed to say a number, anything between 1 and 10. So you just go like 3. Without commentary, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, without you go 3, 4,
10.
10. But you're not allowed to make any other commentary, just so the person can learn what actually feels good for you. It's a fun game.
Yeah, that's great. Real-time feedback. Awesome.
So, Adam and Sandy, then, we don't want to, I know that you guys have been married since May.
Yeah.
So it probably is a pretty active, passionate life that you have going there. But I loved your concept, Adam, when I reached out to you about this, and you said, well, we'd like to keep that paradigm continuous. And it even reminded me of our very first episode, second episode, How to Keep the Sex Dirty Before, which is all about mastering mini seduction so that you're keeping that space passionate. But I love, you've just got it as one whole continuum. So you guys want to share anything about that?
You want to start?
I can start a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Adam and I, we constantly are in a flow of flirtation with each other. Like, constantly. Like, he'll walk in the kitchen, and I'll say that he's really sexy, and, touch his body and comment on different parts of his body that I enjoy. And I do enjoy looking at his body, so I tell him. So we're very verbal. Oh, my God.
We do show and tell.
So that's part of it. Like, throughout the day, we're verbal with each other. We're very touchy-feely. We hug and we kiss throughout the day.
Yeah, we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's funny. My son. I guess our son. That's weird. Our son. My son. A son that is in the house.
His biological son. My gift, right?
Your bonus son. I think we call him. We're still working on terminologies. He would actually go like this during dinner. He said, "I've never seen." This is before we got married. I'd never seen a couple compliment each other or get excited over things as much as you two.
Oh.
Well, we're very. And his version of it was like, "Oh, look, you can drink water." So.
You're just amazing. There's actually a camp at Burning Man called Wow Camp. And they wow you. They come up and they're like, "Wow, you're so amazing. You're extraordinary." So you guys have your own little camp of wow of 2.
Isn't WOW Camp where the women pay W's on their front and back and then do somersaults? Or that's not WOW Camp.
Maybe that's a different camp. I wasn't at that camp.
That's some other.
But I mean, but it's not insincere. It's not about, oh, you can drink water. But I think the practice is, we call it 24-hour foreplay, which some people say sounds onerous, but it's actually really fun. It's just being awakened to the delight of the other, of how they're being delighted or how they're delighting you. And it's really handy. You guys, we were talking earlier, you said you had a couple of stressful weeks or so. We've had some pretty stressful weeks. A lot happened right after we got married. A lot came down fast. And it's been really great to have that practice of tuning into each other and, you know, each other's delight and being delighted by. And I'll say one more thing if I can.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a lot of work over a lot of years. And our vows, the phrase that showed up in my vows to her more than anything was moment by moment. And my one vow to rule them all was, I vow to be with you moment by moment. And that's it. That's really the basic vow. I'm with you right here, right now, no matter what else is happening in the world, not projection that you could be someone else, I could be someone else, past, future, all of that, gone. But to just constantly come back to that moment of the two of you are right here, right now, in time and space, here to love each other and delight each other, no matter what else is happening. And that's been really handy. Really been using that practice, yeah.
I love that. I love that. I mean, it really just brings presence, and I think that's what I was pointing to earlier, Adam, when I said when you speak about it, because even, you know, moment by moment when you're away from her, still feeling that connection, that even in talking, I mean, I was on the phone, but I could still hear you welling up a bit just talking about your love for her. Moment by moment, even when you're miles apart.
Yeah. I mean, there's, you know, we're doing a lot of work with this Happy Couple Academy. The desire, the goodwill, keeping up goodwill for each other is so, there's two things that come up constantly in our research. One is validation of the other person's reality. That is the bottom line for being a happy couple. Just accepting that the other person's reality is their reality, they're not wrong, they're not right, and working from that spot, and giving the other person the honor of having their opinions, no matter how wrong she is. Okay? So,
yeah, in my favorite book, Getting the Love You Want, Harville Hendrix, which is also, I know you probably have it sitting right there with your hundreds of books there. Yep, one of the best ones. And they start in that book with that, about, they call it differentiation. So you are not your partner is not you, they have a different experience, and to validate that. Yeah, go on, you were also saying?
And the second part is goodwill. Let's see, my book's on that too. Susan Page, who's a wonderful psychologist thinker, talks really well about goodwill as one of the 8 traits of successful couples in her work. And it's just having goodwill toward your partner. And look, we'll be honest, we've been at this, what day is today? 18th. We've been at this 3.5 months. We've been married 3.5 months, so there's a lot of goodwill, okay? But we've both been in long-term marriages before, so we understand what can happen.
Yes, I was with my first husband. I was with him for 17 years, and you were with your first wife for 17 years.
We have 34 years of experience.
That's right.
3.5 months of being married together. But,
well, as we said on the last episode, experience can be expensive. Just be sure you get what you paid for. And it looks like you did. You guys really learned.
Get bonuses. Get coupons. But the other thing is that it's really important is even when I met her, and it helps to really honor the person you're with. I could tell, and I'm good at this by now, I could tell that she has a really pure heart, like in a really deep way. And I said to her, before we actually even met, I think, just as we were talking, we'll never fight. I actually said that to her. She says, how can you say it? And I said, well, these are the reasons people fight. And we've never actually had a fight in 4 years. We've had disagreements in 4 years. But one of the reasons I have so much goodwill toward her, because in my view, she's someone who lives so much love in her life. She gives so much love through her work over the last 20 years, work with families and stuff, and with people. So I honor her, not as a practice and not as a principle, but just I do. I just actually really honor her, and I would never want to hurt her, right? So that actually helps to have that kind of goodwill toward your partner. And
it's like that Brian and Jennifer were on last week, and they talked about context, which we also talked about in the very first show, in the first episode. And that context of goodwill, you know, is so key. You know, we also, you and I were talking about John Gottman and that researcher and his work with the magic ratio of saying you really must have, for a successful relationship, 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction.
And I have an addendum to that. How about 500 to 0? Like,
nice.
Because when I read that 5 to 1, I've read that so many times. That was sort of the breaking point of couples that were heading toward divorce. And I would personally hate to be in a relationship where it was 5 positive comments to 1 negative. And I think people can aim way high. That was the breaking point he discovered. But you can aim much higher.
True. Yeah.
Way higher.
Like 100 to 1.
Like 100 to 1 or 500 to 1.
500 to 0, as you said.
Or 500 to 0. But I mean, creating goodwill, like putting money. So I also wrote a book on entrepreneurship. We talked about putting goodwill in the Goodwill Bank in business. Like, you always reach out, and you're a great example of that. You always reach out and try to help your friends in business and your associates. You'll send them things. You'll send them contacts, and you're always trying to create goodwill because that's how you build a business. And it's the same in relationship. And the problem comes when, and it certainly happened in my first relationship, that you stop, you're either in competition with each other or you're angry or jealous and you lose that desire to give goodwill. And it's often giving that first dose of goodwill that actually starts the cycle upward.
True. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So, can I give a little quick principle? It has nothing to do with sex?
Sure, absolutely. No, they go. We have this topic, but they're totally interrelated. They go back and forth. So, absolutely. Although I did want to say something else about the 5 to 1. Should I wait or? Yeah, just in terms of the 5 to 1, you're so right. You know, we want to be aiming, you know, for way higher. In fact, Raj and I were always, you know, we're kind of wanting to up level what is our low threshold. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Arrow or any workout or, you know, with those CrossFit obstacle courses where the people are holding the bar and they have to jump up to the next rung and then jump up to the next rung. We're always trying to do that in our relationship. But we did find, especially after reading Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt's more recent book a couple years ago, Making Marriage Simple is what it's called. And they just basically said negativity. The whole book is like negativity is death to a relationship. So no blaming, shaming, or complaining. Now, when they say no blame, shame, or complain, but naturally you get cranky, you get hungry, something happens, your computer crashes, and it happens. So we wanted something actually practical that you could do when you found yourself blaming, shaming, or complaining. And so we brought in, with their no blaming, shaming, complaining, the magic ratio. So if I catch myself saying something nasty to Raj, and it's always better if you catch yourself, often I'll say, I'm going to call me out.
I love that one.
So he knows, ooh, I heard that too. I'm going to call me out, and then I'll let him know, you know, what I had just done, and I will say 5 positive things about the very thing I just said something negative about. But
that's good. I like that.
After the first one, he's still mad. You can see it. After the second one, he's a little better. The third, he's back to where we started. But if you go as far and say a 4th and 5th thing about the very thing you just said something negative about, you have more intimacy than when you started. So you take something that was separating you and you turn it around using that magic ratio. It really is magic. And you end up in a better place than when you started.
Yeah, it's amazing if you just actually track the shift in your emotional state, you know, as Gabby was saying, because I'm like, okay, not quite there yet, okay, we're getting warmer, and then all of a sudden it's like,
well, might need a 6th one there.
Sometimes the 3rd one will be really good, you know, and it'll kind of push you over the edge.
You know, that's a great practice. Is it hard for you to come up with 5 things?
Yes.
Well, it makes you really be present, like you were talking about earlier, and get out of the monologue going on in your head about what's going on that you're not happy about, and actually shift your mind state and actually talk about what it is that you love and think about what you love about your partner instead of focusing on what it isn't or what is bothering you about it. Yeah.
And if you have the commitment to doing it, then it's really a time saver. So you end up not saying negative things because you know how hard it is. So if you're committed that I'm not going to stop at 3, I'm going to actually say 5 things, then you find yourself saying a lot less negative things because you're like, I'm just too tired and cranky to think of 5 positive things. I'm going to skip that negative thing. And it really has been the biggest shift in our relationship.
You know, as soon as we have something negative to say about each other, we're going to try that. I promise.
That's right.
You know, I wanted to ask you about that. You know, you seem kind of like a rare couple in that
he was going to say animal. It's a rare bird.
Rare couple in that as much as we speak to you, you're regularly saying we don't really have fights or we don't have negative things to say about each other, but obviously that was probably different with your former relationship, I would imagine. So just speak a little bit to that, like, you know, because not all of us have the, I don't know if it's a luxury or whatever, of a relationship where we're never getting upset with each other. In fact,
and not just past relationship, but all of the relationship work he's done. He doesn't need to just use his own relationship. I mean, here's the thing: you want a couple that, you know, can exemplify where you want to go, so that you're aiming for something great. I don't know if you want to find a couple that's fighting all of the time, but yeah, they're a great role model. But that Adam and Sandy still have great advice, I think, to share.
Sure. I was just curious about the difference. And you know, because obviously you're in a relationship now where you don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff.
In my first marriage, I didn't have the skills to know how to communicate what I wanted effectively, and I also didn't honor my own feelings. What I was doing in my first marriage was I was lowering the bar so I could stay in the marriage. I was lowering my expectations so I could stay in the marriage, which meant I was sacrificing what I wanted. I was putting my dreams aside. I was learning just to release what I wanted. So it was a big lesson, a big one. So now with Adam,
it's already low. The bar is so low that
really?
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but with Adam, I have now learned to verbalize what it is I need and want and desire in a way knowing that, you know, I also know what I bring to the table, so I feel comfortable asking for it. So we have open dialogues about it. So Adam's able to hear what I need without, you know, hiding and saying, I may not be able to give you that, so I'm just going to avoid you.
Right.
He will listen and say, okay, this is what you want. Let me see how I can meet the expectation. So it's always in constant dialogue. And the fact that he's willing to do what I need, want, or desire is what I want.
And it comes from a Goodwill, because I mean, she's filling the bank all the time for me. I mean, just even sitting here at the desk, she'll come in. If I'm working really hard, she'll bring craisins, she'll bring water, she'll bring coconut milk, she'll bring, a prosperity candle and light it.
Yes, and it's lit right now, so be careful.
It's lit right now. I mean, and I'm serious. I mean,
save the hot wax for later, Adam, okay?
We have those.
He doesn't like pain.
I don't like pain. But no, it's true, though, because there's so much goodwill created as a practice. You know, we do it, I think, somewhat naturally, but we also make an effort. I know I make an effort to fill up that bank as much as possible, because then I'm more than happy to listen to what she wants. There's another thing, and I'll say something nice about you, which is that it's not that we don't have disagreements, but I know that whenever she brings something up, it's for my good. It's not because it's inconvenient for her, or it embarrasses her, or she wishes I was a different person. Every time she's had something constructively critical to say, it's always been, I know it's for my good.
It's for his highest good.
It's for my highest good, and I trust that in her, which makes a huge difference. And I can bring up stories from the past of other people who have said things like, "Oh, we shouldn't say things like that," and I'm like, "We didn't say that. I said it." You know. So there's levels of control that we don't have on each other.
No.
Which
I have no desire.
Yeah, we have, neither of us want to be controlled, really, but we'll listen to each other, because any advice we give or disagreement will be for the higher good. It's not out of an ego need to control each other or shape the other person to what we want, or to serve our own personal status somewhere in the imaginary universe. We just don't have those illusions.
One of the things that Gabby's always saying to me is, I'm your #1 fan. And
She said that to me too. That's so cool.
Yeah, we actually thought of getting one of those big hand things.
One of the #1s, you know, because we have our Fights Clean. I'll show it to you. We have our Fights Clean Sex Dirty Toolkit. So if we have a fight, or if we're going to be getting it on, we've got this whole fun bag. I don't know if you can see this here, but this whole fun bag of goodies. All sorts of monster hats and sorts of things in there. We thought we need to add one of the big #1 cards, because when Raj gets really stressed, he'll think I'm his enemy, even if the issue isn't about us, and he'll get these kind of beady eyes. This doesn't happen very often. Used to.
Anymore.
Yeah, this is about we retire arguments. We identify those patterns and retire them. But I was like, I'm your #1 fan, so you're going to get one of those big fingers. But Adam, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure.
It's sign of the American Association of Proctologists as well. So it's double benefits.
Multi-purposeful, right?
One.
And so just wanted to mention, John Gottman, again, 30, 40 years of research he's been doing. And while I like practical and fun and how to apply it hands-on, I also like those tips to be based on solid research. So thank you, John Gottman, for all that work that you've done. But one of the factors he said for a relationship to measure if he can tell if it's going to be successful or not is to the degree that they embrace the influence of the other. Now, women have a much better time at this. It's pretty common to be looking for that. But for a man to embrace, or the masculine, not necessarily just a man, to embrace the influence of the other. And you guys not only are embracing it, but you're what I call, Sandy has the golden finger in you as well. Wherever you point, you're like, oh. It's like when Raj wants to tell me something and give me feedback, or, my dad, I used to call my go-to guy. He's still my go-to guy. After my main guy, of course. But I know even if he tells me something that I'm totally confronted by and I hate hearing it, he's still, he loves me. And when you hold that, Raj loves me, Sandy loves you, she really is giving your best interest at heart, then it's a lot easier to embrace their influence.
Great. I just want to inject that we're going to make the Google Hangout button live now, so that any of you out there can join us live in the Hangout and ask questions directly and show up on camera if you'd like.
You have to hit refresh.
Yeah, hit refresh on the browser window and then click on the Google Hangout button under the video player on our webpage.
Can I build also on what you just said, though?
Yeah, of course.
So that willingness to be affected or influenced, right? So it's also a choice that you make in the moment, and it comes from self-awareness. And what I was talking before about relationship is a practice. Like you decide you're going to get into this spiritual practice, right? And so early on in our relationship, like a very clarifying moment for me, I've told the story a lot. We were at a party, and this very, very beautiful woman, I was talking to her.
It was me.
It was her. It was another very, very beautiful woman. But like, anyway, just like the kind of person you don't want to be at your party if you're with your guy. And I was talking to her, and I sort of touched her on the arm as I was talking. I'm very touching. We'd been going out just for a little while. And so she pulled me over later and said, I have a request to make. She said, would you mind when we're together, would you mind not touching other women? And I went through in split seconds all the reactions. Like, nobody's going to tell me what to do. It looks especially impressive. Like, oh, she's trying to control me. Oh,
I'm not trying to control you, bitch.
Yeah, right. It's like in microseconds, all those thoughts went by, and then I thought to myself, and then I said to her, well, listen, yeah, sure, you're more important to me than my need to touch another woman's arm when I'm talking to her. So it was a decision, it was a choice. So the ability to be influenced by your partner is not just something that happens because of general goodwill, it's actually a conscious choice. So there are those moments when you're going to have all your different voices come up, but it's choosing the one that best serves love and best serves relationship.
Yeah, I love that, Adam. It's really a level of commitment and consciousness to how you want your relationship to go. Yeah. Gabby likes to point out, like, if I want the relationship to go down a route that I'm unhappy and irritated and annoyed with her, then that's like, is that what you really want?
Can I tell them the bitch story?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we're talking a bit more about the fights here, but I really do say that if you don't keep the fights clean, you're not going to have the awesome, passionate sex life that you want. But as we mentioned before, we came up with the I'm your #1 fan, but that came out of, one day Raj and I were having an argument, this is 4 or 5 years ago, and he said, you're just such a ogre bitch. And I said, ogre bitch. I actually started laughing. I was like, really? I said, well, you could be right about that if you wanted to be, but where that leaves you is married to an ogre bitch.
Yeah,
so he was like, his face was like, oh shit. So it's like, okay, we want to reframe that. Is that really who I am? And what's going on for you or for me? And it just brought us to some humor. About it. So now sometimes I'll put on my monster hat and be like, the ogre bitch is coming out.
Honestly, that's a good idea. I like it.
We do. We have. But how could you be mad at this ogre bitch, right?
I don't know. Let me see.
Where that leaves you married to an ogre bitch.
Do we have questions?
We have a couple of people. We have a couple people jumping on. Feel free to post if you have a question you want to ask. Just post it in the comments window in the Hangout, so we'll know to make you live
and unmute you. Yeah.
Ogre bitch section. So.
Exactly. Well, welcome. And just as a reminder, we are talking about how to keep the sex dirty after, and we've talked a little bit about the post-sex pause and the post-orgasmic chill, enjoying that little bit of time afterwards, and the romp recap, and all sorts of other great tips on how to not fight and how to make the most of your fights. Adam and Sandy, is there anything else that you want to say? You know, I know we joked a little bit, Adam, when we were talking before this show about what it's like just afterwards for the two of you, and we talked about masculinity seductions, but what about in that in-between?
I don't know what it's like after. I'm never awake. But here's my thought, and then you can tell me your thought. My thought is this: is that look, sexuality. One of the things I've said for a long time: there's no such thing as a sex life. There's a life, and then sex is part of it. So sex is actually an expression of it. And sexuality is communication by physical means. So it's a continuation of your life. That's why we really see it as a continuum. Just like Clausewitz said, war is an extension of politics by other means. Sex is really an extension of communication, all communication by other means. So, just to make it easy on folks, you know, sometimes you're going to have what's called, you know, the heights of sexuality, which is like a quickie sort of fun, and sometimes you're going to have really deep sexuality. So, there's a whole spectrum of ways you can connect on the communication line and on the connection line. And so one thing we're very careful about is not being programmatic about it. Not saying there's a way you should do this in any kind of way, but really be just awake to the moment of how you both feel. Because sometimes you'll want to really connect super deeply and cuddle and talk and all that, and sometimes you want to get a sandwich, and that's okay, really. Fine. But really be awake to what's happening in the moment, and just not impose on each other what you want from the other person necessarily. And it's hard because you're very tender at that moment. But when you really let go and just kind of celebrate your partner, even though you're in a flush of hormones, of, you know, oxytocin, whatever else is flowing through in the moment, is to really appreciate, here's my partner living their unique life and living their unique expression right now. And you can still adore them even if they're not doing what you want. Doesn't mean you can't ask for them to come back to bed and put down the sandwich, or come back to bed and bring the sandwich, but really pulling the judgment out of that moment and just celebrating that person as a unique individual, and then connecting in a way that's playful and non-judgmental.
Yeah, it brings back that formula we were talking about before of really holding, you know, that all is well, there's nothing wrong here, you know, we're not making anyone wrong or saying there's something broken, but we're always bringing all is well, whether it's in the moment of, oh, you know what would be really nice right now? I'd like this, or, you know, hey, I want to go to sleep. Well, great, I'm going to go walk the dog, or, you know, I'd love a foot massage, or whatever it may be, but that you are doing that communication, but from a context of holding all is well and even better if, and if you could hold those two together, that's what Raj and I call a wildly successful life. All is well, plus even better if.
Like that. Can we get these people? I know there's people trying to get on.
Yes, we've asked them to go ahead and put, if they have a question, to let us know in the comments so that we can unmute them. And it looks like we just lost Megan, but I know she's calling internationally, so maybe she's popped out and we'll pop right back in. But yeah, so if you are on live on the Hangout, we can see you there, but feel free to chat that you have a question and we'll go ahead and unmute you.
So Sandy, I think you were going to say something in there before Adam started talking. Was there something that you were going to say there about the sex after?
I can't remember.
Walk the dogs.
Yeah, walk the dogs.
Walk the dogs.
Walk the dogs. You've got the dogs right there, Mr. Wrinkles.
Yes, he's right here.
Mr. Wrinkles.
Because I have a burst of energy afterwards and he gets tired. So.
Yeah, I like to go into, I like to enjoy that bliss state, you know. Speaking of David Data, you know, he talks about feminine bliss is fullness, right? And masculine bliss as emptiness. So for someone who works as hard as I do, to have that moment of just like empty bliss and to just revel in the stew of hormones is a wonderful gift, you know. So she lets me float, and the dogs get walked, so everybody's happy.
Could you say that again,
That is
Adam?
really
That's
awesome.
great.
The empty bliss and full bliss. Yeah.
Yeah, I said the dogs get walked, and I enjoy my bliss, and everyone's happy, and everyone peace.
Yes,
So it's
exactly.
like-
Yes, it's good.
So I hadn't heard that one before with David Data. So that a male bliss is emptiness and a woman's bliss is fullness.
Not male, no, it's feminine and masculine. Very important.
Feminine, masculine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Feminine,
Let's put
masculine.
it another
Awesome.
way. He once said it this way at one of the workshops we did together. He said, I love this one. He says, masculine bliss is nothingness, and the feminine is a whole lot of something. So there's your dance right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and I just love dispelling this myth just in general. You know, there's this cliche that, you know, relationships start out hot and then they just cool until it's like nothing but ash and disappears. And, you know, for some people, they just accept that, you know, they're not even going to have a sex life anymore, or whatever you would call it if it's not a sex life. A life that includes communication via sex. Is that how you say it, Adam? Okay. But we're really happy to...
Haiti, would you like to have some communication for dinner? Yeah.
We really want to be putting that message out there that things, you know, that it can be getting hotter and better all the time. You know, I actually seek out stories from older couples that are still having really awesome, hot, passionate sex lives, and that's when they're actually having sex. And even as you said, it's a continuum. Even when they're not actually being intimate in that way, but creating and holding that passion with each other. I was saying the other day to someone, you know, all those couples that are telling you that it's like a hot coal and it just cools, and that's just what happens. They're just telling you that so that they can feel better about themselves and their own relationship, is what I said to them. Don't believe them. You absolutely can have it get better and better over time.
That's right, because it's a choice.
We're counting on it.
Yeah, right? Right. We're looking for continuous improvement everywhere else. You know, why? Woo! That was awesome. In fact, you know, Raj and I, we've been together almost 10 years now, and let me tell you, after Alex Allman's interview on how to keep the sex dirty before, this was the whole seduction part.
Yeah.
If I was out of town, I came home the next day, Raj and I had a little sexy time session that night, and halfway through I stopped, I said, well, that was some interview, because, you know, he was the sexiest, and mind you, this is after we had already had 2 best ever sexy times in the last 90 days. I was like, Raj, I've never seen you hold that sexual energy that way. So that's a great thing about sex. Is the next level, you have no idea. Your 10 keeps getting higher, right? Your 10 just keeps getting higher of like, whoa, that was possible? I didn't even know that. You think it's a 10? 101, that's right. You don't see Adam's page. He's holding up a piece of paper that says it turned the 10 into a 101.
It really is remarkable, the level of, the depth of growth in your sexuality that you can have. You know, I think sometimes we think like there's nothing we can do about our sex life, and in fact, there's everything you can do about your sex life. We basically just haven't learned anything about it. And in all areas of relationship, you can look at if something isn't working as well as you'd like it to, it's access to how you'd like it to be. It just kind of points out where you have more room to grow and develop and explore. You know, it's awesome through doing these shows. We actually get to learn.
It's been so great. You know, we had a great relationship going into starting this show, but let me tell you, afterwards, these interviews, everyone is an even better if in our relationship. So.
Yeah, we're taking notes real time.
That's awesome. That's
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some great notes from you guys here as well. I really, really appreciate the spiritual practice element. And focusing on the goodwill and validation of your partner's experience. Because I think way too often couples will dismiss their partner's experience. And in fact, in my first relationship, I was in an 8-year relationship. And that was part of the dynamic. And what would happen is then I'd get more and more hysterical to be like, no, really, trust me, this really is serious. Because when I bring something up in a smaller, you know, less dramatic way, it was just poo-pooed and it wasn't listened to. And what that led to is more and more drama, until eventually one day I caught myself and said, whoa, I don't want to be like this, and unhooked from that entirely.
That was nice.
That was nice. Yeah, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Raj, as you know, is one of the best listeners I've ever met. And, you know, part of one of the great communication skills that we like, you know, again, from Harville Hendricks with the Imago dialogue, is when someone's communicating, you're not looking just to respond, but we actually have a little dance for it to remind ourselves, to make it a little lighter. Ready, honey? Did I get it? Is there more? Did I get it? Is there more? Did I get it? Is there more? And you're just really telling your partner, I want to know exactly what it is you're trying to communicate, and I want to make sure it's landed, not just that I interpreted and now I'm going to spit back at you, but that I've really gotten what you've wanted to say, because what you have to say is important just because it's yours.
I love that you made a dance out of it. It's, you know, we're very playful. I know it's really hard to tell, but we're very playful people. And you know, I almost did my dissertation, by the way, on playfulness as a human quality. There's a whole sort of academic tradition of Homo ludens, which is a whole other story. But we really are playful creatures, human beings, and we lose it, and it's terrible in our culture. It gets channeled into sort of, you know, competitive play, but we're playful, creative beings. When we're kids, we're naturally creative and playful. And adults, when you give them the chance, as you obviously know, they'll jump at the chance to be playful. So I love that you took a practice, which is mirroring back, did I get everything? Is there anything else? Which is a very respectful question to make sure about, and turned into this little dance. That's very funny. I like
and we're all about taking that great stuff and research out there, making it memorable. In fact, once we spoke recently and people came up afterwards and said, you know, people were laughing so hard it was a little bit hard to hear the full piece on that. Can you finish that piece up? Tell me what you were saying there. And I just think as kids we learn by play, and then especially when it comes to personal development, and especially relationship, and then even more especially with sex, that people get so serious and significant and uptight. We're like, let's just loosen up and play like kids, you know, and see what happens.
Really good.
Adam and Sandy, I'm really curious because I know you have a depth of knowledge in this realm of sexual relationship, and I'm just curious, what are your top points for just continuing to up-level your sex life and your relationship sexually with each other?
Communication. I think that helps us.
Yeah, I don't think we don't really have like programmatic stuff on that, I guess. Yeah, just staying in tune with each other. I don't know if we consciously love each other, get turned on by each other, and run into the bedroom. Really?
Keep it simple.
That's how it goes. Yeah, I mean, again, it's funny. It's a great question, and really got me thinking. But without going into too much detail, sex emergencies. We have a thing called sex emergencies.
I love that. A sex emergency. I love it. Just break glass.
But don't roll in it. But when it's felt that it's necessary to communicate in this way, we will make a way.
Do you have a siren or an alarm that goes off, or
pretty literal sex emergency?
Yeah, it's kind of get a hard on, really.
There's your alarm. There's your alarm.
But we know, and then it's like, okay, let's do something about this. So, you know, if we can, we'll find a place, or like check into a hotel or somewhere. Like, seriously, all right, let's honor this. Life is short.
Life is short.
You know, instead of, because it's so easy, especially when you're in a relationship for so long, and it has been 3.5 months.
I know, long.
So, you know, you want to get it in while you can. No, what I want to say is, as you get in a relationship for a long time, it's really important to stay in the moment and to stay playful and spontaneous. It's so easy to say, oh, yeah, I'd love to right now, but we have to get to the supermarket and then get to the dry cleaner before. Fuck the dry cleaner, you know? It's like, okay. And that's what we do. We go to the dry cleaner. She's really
You just put an ad in there and you say, fuck at the dry cleaners, right?
But it's like, don't let the quotidian, you know, calls of the day get in the way of actually living your life, being spontaneous, and honoring your relationship. Like, in that moment, what can we do? Let's figure it out. Let's do something fun. Like, you know, you have to be alive to that. And look, I know we've only been here 3.5 months, so I'm really aware that it's not like we've been here 10 years like you, but that's our intention, is to keep that.
Absolutely. Well, and I like to say a little bit of intention, attention, and action. just a little bit. It goes a really long way. I mean, you talked about Goodwill before, but when your partner is making efforts, you know, for example, with Raj, if I'm upset, you know, I'm trying to get a message through and he doesn't hear me, I know I don't have to press it. I don't have to get upset because he cares enough about my opinion that the next day he's going to be like, you know, I thought about what you said and this is how I feel. Or, you know, we have an expression, both is better than one, that if we want something that seems different, and then we actually find a way that we're getting a little bit of both of them, that both actually ends up being better than what either one of us wanted in the first place.
I like that.
So we're really honoring that person's opinion and experiences, is that it's an addition, not taking away and impinging on our freedom.
Yes, I like both is better than one. She whispered in my ear, beach house, in addition.
I like it, Sandy. I like it. Beach house. Both is better than one. Then it can apply to so many things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really true. You said something else that he'll say, I thought about it. You know, we were talking about the ways of creating goodwill and validating and diffusing conflict. It's actually so easy. And one of the things you could do is go, you know, in the middle of a fight or as you're getting into a fight, go, you know what, you're really right. I hadn't thought of it that way. And just watch the other person go, what do I do now? You know, you're really right, even if you don't agree with them, because they're right about something, right? Great term from Ken Wilber to our friend Mark Groffney is everything is true and partial, right? Everyone's wrong, but partially. Everyone's right, but partially. So if you just say that, if you say, you know what, you're really right, I hadn't thought of that. It's a great way to just instantly diffuse any kind of because you have to have trust that your partner's not a total fucking idiot or lunatic. There's something right in what they're saying, right?
Hopefully.
Well, you chose them. You chose them. I mean, the first piece of relationship advice I ever gave was choose wisely. You know?
Oh, yeah. Do you know this book, you guys? I love this book.
The Art of Possibility. I haven't seen that one.
Holy moly. Get it. It's my new
Okay.
favorite book. You can tell because I've been reading in the hot tub and the pages are all messed up. See? But I highlighted practically every page. These two are landmark people, by the way. He's the, I'm getting to a point. He's the director, the conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And she's like a therapist. They do workshops now. And they talk about starting from possibility and working backwards. But one of the great practices they have is rather than seeing yourself as a chessboard piece and your partner as a chessboard piece, you say, how is it that I created this board, right? How is it that I'm the board, right? And you immediately take away that that person did something to me, I did something, but I created the board. Like you said, I chose this person, right? So at least on that level, at the very basic level, you created this chessboard, but you're also the board. You're not just the piece. That's a beautiful way of looking at how did I create this board? How am I this board? Before you start laying blame, shame, and complain.
Well, you know, when we were about to break up, or we had broken up in our relationship after we were engaged, and we decided to see a therapist to decide should we complete powerfully or will we actually stay together, and we went to see an imago therapist. And, you know, for those listening that aren't familiar with imago, it's based on the idea that you choose your partner because they are the sum total, they're the amalgam of the positive and negative characteristics of those people who raised you and spent the most time with you when you were young. And so what we realized is all the things that we didn't like about our partner were things that we had chosen so that we can open up that unhealed wound to have a chance to heal it. And then I learned the bonus version that even though they're perfect at opening up the wound, they have zero skill for healing it. And it's your job to teach them that skill to heal your wound. However, that skill that you're teaching them is exactly what they need to be more whole and complete and integrated. For example, with us, I needed to learn to be softer. Like Raj would have a tough problem, and I'd go into like kind of a father-child attitude of get it together, damn it, you're ruining it for me.
Oh, wow.
That didn't work so well. The first day when he started to get upset, and I said, honey, put your head in my lap, and I rubbed his hair, and I said, tell me what's wrong. That whole dynamic just completely melted and was over. That was like, and then all of a sudden people started saying, Gabby, you're so much softer. Or people would say to Raj, I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it.
Yeah, you really are a gift to your partner's growth and development, both for who they are in your relationship, but just who they are as a human being. You know, you really give them access to their full potential. So we are at the top of the hour.
Oh my gosh, that went fast.
Yeah, it went fast.
Thanks, though, for joining live.
So
Those, even if you didn't ask your questions, it's nice to have you there live. But feel free next episode to jump on in, and we want to know what you want to know.
And we'll shoot you on over our free guide and our cheat sheet. If you would like that, just give us your email address in the comment window.
Or, Sarah, if you don't want to put your email address in, Sarah, if you put in yours so they can email you and say, please send me those tools, that would be great.
And just want to point out that both for the live viewers and people watching replay, that Gabby is taking on what we call diamond mining coaching couple, where she'll work with the couple for 17 weeks, 90 days, in a 90-day game format to help the couple create the relationship that they dream of. Do you want to say anything about that?
Can I say something? I've done a 90-day game with you guys on a business side of things, and that is an amazing process. It is, for anyone listening, that 90-day game is so thorough, and there's steps and pieces, and just I've never seen anything like it. It's fantastic.
No, Adam, that means so much coming from you. And that's even applied to business. You know, we like to take business practices and apply them to relationship, and relationship practices and apply them in business. And the beauty of this focus and doing this 90-day game in relationship is that you're not problem pathologizing. You're not dissecting problems. Together you decide, this is our shared relationship vision. This is how we want it to be. This is how maybe it is. This is how maybe it isn't. But this is how we want it to be. And then each person picks the 3 things that are most important to them and most difficult for them, not their partner saying you fix this, but for yourself. So it's proactive and it's positive, and I just, most relationship work, in fact, someone wrote to me today and said, hey, get ready with all that Ashley Madison brouhaha happening. Couples are going to be divorcing left and right. I'm like, this isn't for divorcing couples. This is for couples who actually love their relationship, but know that they want to be moving towards something. Because, in your business, in your personal development, those people out there, they already know that they're driving towards something. And so why not bring that same proactive attitude to relationship? So thanks for mentioning that, honey. And thanks for that, Adam.
Yeah,
if people want to, if they can see, it says adamgilad.com. It's still on my page. adamgilad.com/happy-couple. You'll get our manifesto for happy coupleness.
And that's going to be launching in September, right?
Program will launch September, but you can get the manifesto there now.
You get the manifesto now, yes, but do keep that on your radar even if you get the manifesto now. I love the name Happy Couple Academy. I love that you two are doing it together. You have both, just like, when I talk about John Gottman, you have so much of the facts, and then you have so much of the fun. You got the facts and the fun. I got my alliteration in, all in one.
Use that, actually. That's very good.
Facts and fun. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, Adam and Sandy Pants. We love you guys. We look forward to seeing you in person soon. And thanks everyone for joining. This is our final season for Season 1, the season of play. We will start Season 2, the season of peace, come September 10th. So join us then.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. See you soon.
Bye.